Welcome, I'm Darren, and I'll be your guide today as I look at basically everything that Action Pack did in hockey. And this is kind of a scattershot affair because hockey never got the chance to make a complete set. They kind of did at one point, but this is more a whole bunch of the fragments of what Action Pack was trying to do in hockey. And since you're going to run into some of these things from time to time, I figured I would go ahead and lay them all out so you can see what all the pieces are and how they track in the very stilted efforts for Action Pack to create a hockey set. And it's kind of interesting to see all of the efforts they did and how close they got, and yet the fact that with all of this they were never able to actually make a set. This obviously all starts in 1987 when Action Pack tried to make their first set, which was going to be baseball. Didn't work, so the next year, in 1988, they made a pitch to the NFL. They got the opportunity. 89, they created a test set. It worked well, so in 1990, they launched their first full-blown set. It was basically the 89 set, just with all the teams. So once they had everything settled and in place, 1990 was now their time to start getting into the other sports. Baseball, that had already happened, or more correctly, it hadn't happened, so they knew that wasn't a place to go. But for both the NBA and the NHL, those were wide open territories for them to try to make a run at. So they made a couple of test cards for each of those sports, 3 for each. And the cards that they used, they're the exact same as what they were using in football, but they do look a little bit different because of the very dark images, which I think read a lot better. So in the case of hockey, they did cards of Mario Lemieux, Wayne Gretzky, and Steve Yzerman. Those are the 3 cards that they made. And the cards, they have the way that Action Pack made cards was they had a double wide card with relief in it, and then they folded the sides around and sealed up the back side of the relief. And in doing so, they made a double-sized card, or really it's like a triple-sized card, and they have rounded corners, a very rigid card, and the way that the whole card works, it feels very different. Very, very important is the way that it really comes across. The gold border is a little bit overdone, but if the images are selected right in these hockey cards, as with these cards, they do read beautifully. So that's basically the way that they made these cards. On the back, the seam kind of divides the back of the card up, and on the bottom they have a little strip for autographs, which was a cool little thing that they added to these cards, even though we never really put the autographs there if we were getting them. But the cards came across that way. They do not have numbers, and they have sample right over the back of the card, so that you really do know what these are. But they did do 3 cards, didn't get picked up, so they didn't do anything outside of football until 1993. So in 1993, they decided to go out and make sets for legends for all the sports. In baseball, they did it. In basketball, they did it. And in hockey, they were going to do it. They were going to do it the same way as with the baseball cards. They even sent out a sell sheet with a couple of promo cards. The sell sheet tells you basically what they were trying to do. They were going to make a 42 card set, just like in basketball. It was going to have gold parallels. And for some reason, either because they didn't get enough sells or whatever reason it was, they didn't go ahead and make the set. So instead, what we have are those 2 promo cards. And the cards are of Bobby Hull. The front of the card is a full bleed image. They have a little Action Pack logo, just kind of floating, not in gold foil, which is interesting. And then they have a silver foil trophy floating up above. And then it's an image of Bobby Hull. I love the way that some of these 50s and 60s shots are, because with the high contrast from the way that they took the pictures, there's almost a 3D quality to it. You combine that with the relief on these cards, it makes a really, really cool effect that I really do wish that they had made a whole set of these kinds of images, but they didn't. We have this one, which is still cool, but on the card back, it looks really cool because they have a black band at the top, they have a red strip right along the seam, and then down below they have a picture of ice as the background behind the text, and then they also have a close-up shot. Well, they have a shot of the hockey puck from Bobby Hull's 545th goal. So that's the way the card is laid out in the back, and it looks gorgeous. And you'll notice that the number is BH1. It's obviously Bobby Hull 1. Well, there's also a BH2. There were 2 promo cards. But the second card is the exact same card, but everything is with a gold burnish. I mean, the whole thing has a gold burnish. They didn't do it as BH1G. This is not a 24 karat gold card. This is a gold finished version of the card, which I'm really intrigued if they were going to do that for the whole set as a very basic parallel, and then maybe have the 24 karat gold as well. I don't know. It is intriguing, but these are the only two cards that we have for this. Except for the fact that even though they didn't get this set done, they did do a 10 card set sold in or released in complete set form for the NHL Hall of Fame inductees. These 10 cards are exactly the same. These are full bleed cards. They have everything is the same way, front as well as on the back. And for if it's just a portrait shot without all of the background, then they have a bunch of team logos in the background. Otherwise, this really does show the way these cards were going to be done as the main set, except for one major difference. With these cards, the shot of the player or the person, the inductee, is all glossy. Everything else is a matte finish. So there's a cool effect that they put into these cards that it's really neat. So by the end of 1993, that's what they had created. They had essentially done some promo cards in 1990, a couple of promo cards in 93, as well as a little inductee set in 1993. 1994, however, was a pretty crazy year, and they got really crazy in what they were trying to do with hockey. Now, in basketball and baseball, they had made a Series 1 and then eventually a Series 2 for each sport with these Legends cards, and they would continue to make some cards. Hockey, they still wanted to get something started, so they definitely were going to try to figure out what could possibly work in this market. And they started off with what they called Big Picture. This is a promo set of 4 cards, and it is Jaromir Jagr, Jeremy Roenick, Steve Yzerman, and Van Weisbroek. And so these are pretty good players, and it is a folded card. So what I mean by a folded card is it is a normal size card, but it is a double height card, and then you open it up, and inside is a kind of a paper shot of a player. And so this is a 4x size shot inside. They don't have any text inside. It's just a shot of the player. But the card, the way that the card is built, the outer card is a double-sized card. It is action-packed, so they have all the relief on the front, and then on the back they don't have a seam because there's no reason to have a seam, but they have a very big, overly done image. It's a little bit too much, but this is a card they did not bother to make text for. They didn't want to put much text on the card. This is all about the effect. And I'm really curious how they would have eventually turned this into a set. Even if it was like an insert set, how they would have done it, I don't know. I am intrigued, but they did have these 4 cards. Now, they also were, in 1994, in football, they made a whole set of cards called Mammoth. And these are 7.5 inches by 10.5 inches. So they're way oversized cards, but they are regular cards oversized, just ballooned out. And they're done in the same way as the regular action pack cards. Built the same way, everything. Because of the extra real estate, the detailing on these cards is really intricate, which is really cool. These are very neat cards. And on the back, again, they deal with the same proportions. So instead of shrinking the text down so they can cram more text on, all this text looks like the right size proportionally if it was a small card. So it reads beautifully on both sides, and they're a lot of fun. And they are all serial numbered out of 25,000. So right along the seam on the card, there's the serial numbering, whatever number out of 25,000. They did do a complete set of these cards. So in this case, you were buying them one at a time, and you could assemble a set. There's a little bit of confusion about how big the set is, but this is the closest that they ever got to making a complete set of cards for you to put together in Action Packed in hockey. So at least they got around to this. But they were still trying some other things, some crazy things. And just like in football, where they made something called Co-Stars, which is coasters 4 glasses. They did the same thing in hockey. What it is a big sheet of cardboard, and then they have 6 different little square panels inside, rounded corners, that you can punch out, and they are individual coasters with a player on each one. Each one of these coasters has a different shot, home and away on either side, and they do have a glass base circle on one side, so you can tell which side you use and which side you don't use, just in case you want to keep one side looking good but use the other side. And in both football and hockey, they did a test of these, but in football, they went ahead and made a whole set afterwards. In hockey, we only have the test version, the promo panels. And you can find them either with each one of the coasters punched out. You can also get it with it all as one. But they did one other thing where they really, really thought outside of the box by making pins, as in lapel pins. And these lapel pins they're made out of metal, and they have Action Packed at the top and a little logo down at the bottom. And they have a recess right in the middle of the metal where they have room for a sticker to apply, which is the face. But this is Action Packed, so it does have relief on it. So they didn't do a set. In football, they did a whole set. Here in hockey, they just did a series of 4 promos. Still some pretty good players in them, but they did a couple of these promo pins, and they also didn't take off. So that basically brings it to a close. These are all the things they tried to do. They definitely did not fail because of lack of energy. They tried. They really tried, and they were thinking in creative ways. And what we get are a whole bunch of really intriguing little pieces that are just laid out. I hope that I've laid it all out for you to be able to follow and know where all this stuff is. And this is one of those rare cases where you could literally actually go in and collect all of it. A little expensive. Those 1990 promos are pretty pricey, but it is a very finite group of pieces to collect. So it's a fun little area, but it is scattershot. It really is. So that basically rounds out Action Packed outside of football and racing. In this case with hockey, it's a truly unusual affair. A lot of fun. If you have any questions about anything about this stuff, please by all means ask, and I'll answer everything that I can. Check out my other videos if you haven't had a chance. Subscribe if you haven't done so already. And yeah, thank you very much for watching.